Hey Kinderguppies, it's Mr. McComb here one more time. I've got another book for you about another nocturnal animal. This time, a non-fiction book all about an insect called a firefly. The name of the book is Twinkle, Twinkle. Here we go. All right, Kinderguppies, as we read this book, I want you to keep in mind that as a non-fiction book, it is full of facts and information and details that we're learning. But the person or people who made this book chose not to take pictures like in other non-fiction books. This time, the people drew the pictures. So it might seem like a fictional story, but it is a non-fiction book full of science and information. Get ready to learn something new and ask your wondering questions. It is evening, early summer, and the fireflies are out. Twinkle, twinkle. Small lights in their tails dance like falling stars. Now that sure is interesting. One of the last books we read about fireflies didn't say that the lights came from their tails. That book said that the lights came from their abdomens. Do you guys remember that word? Say abdomen. A female firefly sits on a blade of grass. Her light says she is lonely. A male firefly sees her light. He blinks his light at her, and she answers, twinkle, twinkle. Remember, monkeys, we learnt that fireflies talk to each other with the lights that they shine. It is raining. The two fireflies hide until the rain stops. Then they come out to mate on a blade of grass. I wonder why they had to hide when it was raining. Can you think of an answer? And if you're wondering what mate means, that's the word that scientists use to describe when two animals, a boy and a girl, get together to make babies. A few nights later, the female firefly flies around looking for a good place to lay her eggs. Female means girl, and because a firefly isn't a mammal, her babies are going to come out in eggs. She finds a wet root covered with moss near a stream of running water, and she blinks her light to let other female fireflies know that this is the best place to lay their own little round eggs. Look at that picture, Kinderguppies. It looks like all of the female fireflies are getting together and laying all of their eggs in the same spot at the same time. While the female firefly is laying her eggs, the male firefly blinks his light for the last time. He has done his work, and now his life is over. When all her eggs are laid, the female firefly also dies, leaving new life on the wet moss. Hundreds of tiny eggs will become new fireflies. It sounds like each female firefly lays a lot of eggs, but then she doesn't live long enough to see them hatch from their eggs. So I guess baby fireflies don't live with mamas and papas. After a while, the soft, transparent eggs show signs of larvae. Transparent means you can see through it. A window is transparent. And larva, that's what the little baby firefly looks like inside the egg. The bodies of insects like fireflies change completely as they develop. Larvae come from the eggs, then change into pupa before finally emerging as adults. This process of changing form is called metamorphosis. We've studied this before, Kinderguppies, the way a butterfly starts in an egg and then turns into a caterpillar before finally becoming a butterfly. It sounds like fireflies do something very similar. A spotted larva breaks the egg with its sharp chin and comes out into the world. At once, it heads to the stream. Take a look at this picture, guys. Do you think all of the baby fireflies, all of the larvae, make it to the stream? Or is there something there that might try to catch them and eat them first? The larvae twist their bodies to sink down, down, down to the bottom of the stream. They crawl about, looking for food. Look at their bodies down there. Do you see their little legs? Just like a caterpillar's little legs. And they search on the bottom of the stream, looking for food to eat. But do you think anybody is also trying to eat them? The larvae breathe with gills as they feed on black snails and other small creatures. When fish try to eat them, they hide between the rocks. That reminds me of how seals would hide in a seal garden from orcas and other animals that tried to eat them. Doesn't that remind you of the same thing, Kinderguppies? 2 months have passed. The larvae turn gray and stay between stones for about 5 hours. Then they wriggle out and cast off their skins for the first time. Before spring comes, the larvae will grow, shedding their skins 4 times. Then they swim to the surface. A larva crawls into wet ground, makes a nest, and falls asleep. When the larva wakes, it casts off its skin once again and turns into a pupa. The pupa casts off its skin for the last time.
And now it's a firefly!
You know what, Kinderguppies? This reminds me of how a caterpillar will turn into a butterfly. But caterpillars don't go through this metamorphosis underground. They form a chrysalis, that hanging cocoon-like thing that they make on a tree branch or a blade of grass. It's interesting how the firefly is similar, but still different. The firefly's body must harden before it can come out of the ground. Remember in that last book we read, monkeys, we saw that a firefly is actually a beetle, and he has 4 sets of wings, and the outer set of wings are really hard. So that must be what's happening right now. A few nights later, the firefly is out of the ground. Although a lot of eggs are laid, some are eaten by fish, and some by spiders and frogs. But some eggs survive and turn into fireflies. In early summer, the survivors fly high, blinking their tail lights as they look for a mate. Twinkle, twinkle. Well, isn't that interesting? This book ends the same way it began, with adult fireflies looking to make a new family. And when I look at that last picture, boys and girls, I see that the fireflies are awake at night. That reminds me, fireflies are nocturnal. This nonfiction book knows that its job is to get students to wonder, and so its last page here has a bunch of questions that you and your grown-ups can read and think about. And if you're really interested, you can even do research to find out more information on the internet. I think it would be lovely if you could write a journal or draw a picture and share what you've discovered with Mr. McComb. Well, Kinderguppies, that's another book done. I sure do enjoy reading to you, and I sure hope you enjoy listening. I'll talk to you all later.